You know, the book is not played out. The idea of what a book can be is not played out in its form as it is, with paper and covers. And there are things it can be that digital will never touch. And that's one of the things I wanted to do with this. And comparing it to a cassette tape, the old-fashioned way of making a mixtape, which, you know, I love burning CDs too. But there is something far more passionate and hands-on and hard work about making a mixtape on a cassette. It's too easy to revise with a CD. And today's technology makes it too easy to change immediately. You can cover your mistakes quicker. I think it allows you to have this sheen of perfection around yourself. And with an old-fashioned book or an old-fashioned cassette tape, you can actually see all the flaws and imperfections and the bad choices. And I think there's something we lose with technology when you talk about bad choices. They cost $300, number one. I don't think anything that costs $300 can be called egalitarian. You know, how much of the world can afford a $300 reading device? 1% of 1% of 1%. It automatically qualifies for, you know, economically elite status. But what's really going on here, the reading public doesn't really know about. All they're concerned about and all they're defending is their reading convenience, which I completely understand, whether it's because of physical disabilities or because of personal preference or just the newness of it, why they love a digital book. But they don't understand the economic corporate pressures going on in the publishing world. And what's going to happen, and this is going to happen on the internet too. We like to pretend that the internet is free. You know, we like to pretend it's an open source culture. But as culture changes, as old corporate models of distributing information are changing, you know, I don't know why people assume that corporations aren't going to take over this medium as well, because they can. So what's happening in the book world, the digital books, is that these ebook companies, you know, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, others that are rising, they just don't seek to publish books. They're going to end up seeking the books to be chosen to be published. So this economic model, the way it's set up now, is going to favor a certain kind of book. And publishers, and being economically motivated companies, are only going to be publishing those kind of books. And the divide between pop culture, pop writing, and literary writing is just going to increase and increase and increase. And it's going to make it harder and harder and harder for first-time writers to get published in any form whatsoever where they'll get attention. Who can find you? Who's going to find anybody? Nobody's really risen out of the internet to become a major voice. They always end up getting a book published, and then the book makes them a major voice. But nobody has. I mean, I'm trying to think. You know, I'm not internet averse at all. I'm doing this. I mean, I love the internet. But the fact is that it's a giant, giant, unfiltered library, which has its strengths and beauty, but it's impossible to find people. And you know, what we end up doing anyway is I go to about 5 sites. You know, and I think most people probably do the same thing. You create this little small town inside the internet, and we end up in all these little tiny separate communities. Joan Jett, in an interview with Joan Jett, she said about the music industry, she said the thing that's missing now is anticipation. She said that nobody gets in a big line outside of Tower Records anymore waiting for that new Stones album to drop. And nobody stands in line outside a record store waiting to buy the tickets for the Who concert. There's a real lack of community on the, you know, in the internet experience when it comes to art. And you can't tell me, and it's not true, that communicating strictly through the internet forms community in the way that being together does. You're missing all but one sense. You don't smell people, you don't really hear them, you don't see them. And we're animals, we're creatures of senses, and the internet deprives you of many of those. So I know there's new art coming based on this technology, and some of it's happening, and it's exciting and interesting, but there's nothing wrong with the old art. And I always worry, and you see it with certain internet folks, the way in which they're completely willing to jettison their past. in the pursuit of something new. And that's what I'm worried about.